Vice Chancellor of Facilities Planning and Management at Washington University in St. Louis. Primary area focus is on the Danforth campus. Prior to joining Washington University, I worked for Alberici for about 11 and a half years, and with McCarthy for about 13 and a half years prior to that. So been very blessed to work for just three outstanding organizations. And St. Louis is not home, but I've been here long enough from a professional perspective that it has become our home, and really love the area and the region. Before we kick the program off this morning, I just wanted to touch base on a couple of things. I know working from home is sometimes challenging, so please, from an etiquette perspective, just to be on mute if you're not speaking for the enjoyment of all others. We encourage you to use your comments, post comments in the chat. Kelly will definitely make sure that anything that's listed there gets brought to my or Felipe's or the attention, or whoever is relevant to speak to it, and we'll make sure that we get your questions and comments addressed. That way everybody can have a nice experience today. Please note that this program is being recorded, and a copy of this can be made available for members after the meeting. So just a quick review of the agenda today. We've kept it pretty simple. I'm going to run through some opening events and some announcements, and then we'll hear from Felipe, and then we'll do Q&A. We'll open it up for Q&A, and we'll close the program at about 9:30 with Kelly for closing comments. I'd like to first acknowledge our hardworking Training and Education Committee for planning this program. Programs like this one would not be possible without our member volunteers and leadership of Monica Connors and co-chair Katie Goldberg. Especially want to recognize Katie Goldberg and her subcommittee for chairing this program. I'd also like to thank Richard Vestal with Vestal Engineering for recommending Felipe and this topic for this group today. Richard Vestal and I and Felipe all work with the LCI group that's a local chapter here, and it's a pleasure to work with those gentlemen. As a reminder, this is a member-driven organization run by mostly members. So please let us know if you're interested in getting involved in any of our committees. Please reach out to Kelly Jackson or Rebecca Hutchison in the council's office to sign up. As a reminder to our members and to share with our visitors today, SLC3 is a community of design and construction industry professionals with a common interest in the betterment of our region. Our planning has identified 4 key pillars to our organization. They are innovation, education, equity empowerment, and an all-inclusive workforce collaboration. If you'd like to learn more, please visit our website or, of course, contact the office. Now, none of these events would be possible without our sponsors. So I specifically want to recognize Cosney Wagner again this year for our annual platinum sponsorship. We appreciate their top tier support each year. Our gold sponsors are McGrath and Associates, Ross and Barazzini, Kwame Building Group, El Keeley, and our silver sponsors are Farnsworth Group, Kaiser Electric, JF Electric, Hankins Construction Company, Abna Engineering, OWH Architects, Custom Engineering, and Hush Blackwell. Annual sponsorships are truly the best way to support SLC3's mission of providing excellent continuing education. It's not too late to still join. So please, if you feel an inkling or call to do so, join for the 2021 annual sponsorship list. You can contact Kelly if you'd like to learn more and support. Today's program will also provide a continuing education benefit. You can be granted 1 point for professional development hours for professional engineers and 1 learning unit through the American Institute of Architects. Those documents have been sent to you and the documentation is also available on the SLC3 website and at the resource page. We really value your feedback. So the evaluation process to this is very, very important. So at the conclusion of this program, please take a few moments to provide comments. Those comments are used to continually improve the programs that the SLC3 provides. And without your feedback, we can't improve. So please take a few moments to provide the feedback. Speaking of programs, this year we're celebrating our 50th anniversary. We have 19 planned programs, events on the calendars, including our 50th anniversary. And our 50th anniversary event will take place November 11th. Next month, we have our first in-person event. I know some of you are probably very excited about that. Some of you might be a little nervous about that, but understand all safety precautions will be in place. The event will be a tour of the Coca Center for Creative Arts Renovation and Additions. This project is a result of a number of our members, and our tour guides will highlight a number of interesting features and challenges to this historic building. Registration is limited to 100, so please register as soon as possible. Another event that I'd like to talk about is our 35th golf tournament. It's going to be on May 3rd. I hear that it's sold out, but we're taking names for the waiting list. However, we still have opportunities for sponsorships and volunteers. So please, if you feel led to sponsor, do. And if you can volunteer, please do. It's a great day. I've participated many times. It's a great way to spend the day within the AEC industry. Last year's event was successful, and we look forward to getting back out to Whitmore and having another successful event again this year. Also in May, it's our second Diversity Town Hall, which is going to be on May 20th. Look for the registration and please register. All the programs and calendars can be found on the website and, of course, was sent to you prior to the program today. With all that said, we're ready to begin the program. And without further ado, I want to introduce to you Felipe Engineer Manriquez. He's an international lean speaker, a serial entrepreneur, a committed lean practitioner. He will share with us today decades of construction industry experience. He hosts a podcast too at www.thebfcshow.com and is an active contributing member of the Lean Construction Institute, of which he is an approved instructor. He has a Bachelor's of Science in Electrical Engineering, a Master's in Business Administration. Felipe leads the McCarthy Lean Construction Program. He's a Jeff Sutherland Certified Scrum Master and Scrum Trainer by Scrum Incorporated. I've had the pleasure of knowing Felipe now for about 18 to 24 months. And the thing that I've really appreciated about Felipe is he brings a lot of passion to everything that he does. You don't have to get him to have coffee in the morning to get him ready to roll. But what I like even more than that is kind of the reason behind why Felipe does this. Felipe is one of those rare individuals in life that really walks the walk. He not only is an outstanding teacher and has passion about this, but the reason he does is he's seen the benefits to not only his personal life, but those teams that are around him. I've had conversations with Felipe on things as simple about while you're driving, what are you thoughtfully doing? Are you listening to music? Are you listening to news? Are you listening to an audio book? All those things are fine. But how is it improving what your objectives are for that day? We all get 7 days a week. We all get 24 hours a day. And if we're thoughtful about all of the things that we're doing is how we eliminate waste. And Felipe is very dedicated to eliminating waste because he's seen the improvement in his life and the improvement in lives of those around him. And that brings him great joy. So without further ado, Felipe, take us away.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that warm welcome, JD. Appreciate you so much. I'm going to get my screen up on, and I'm going to encourage everybody while I'm making this transition. First of all, thank you so much for having me here. Love spending a Thursday morning with y'all. It's almost 0 dark 30 for me. It's getting there. It's getting there. I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to look for you, JD, since you're still camera on, to give me a thumbs up when you see it, and I'll just know that I'm in good shape. All right. Thank you so much. So everybody, if you're here for the business case for lean, you're in the right place. Welcome. And yes, this is a very high-powered microphone that's designed to come at you with ease and put you in a state of comfort. I'm here to encourage you to ask as many questions as you like, whenever you like. And the best way for that is not to wait till the end. I'm going to start by asking all of you a question first that you don't have to answer. So here we've got some typical learning objectives, and I'm going to flip these to everybody. And you know what I'm going to do, JD? Because I'm feeling kind of generous. I'm going to throw a PDF of the slide deck in Zoom chat if I can, just so that people could have that, and we'll just get that out of the way. But I'm going to put that on the screen. Take a look at that. Those are the 4 questions I'm thinking we should answer today. And if we do that, then I did a good job. So I'm going to let you all see that while I get this text chat to open. Take a little look-sees there. Sometimes we have the ability to share files. Sometimes we don't. We'll find out. Let's see here. Because I get that question a lot. People are like, can I get the slides? Can you? Yes, you can. So let's see if we can do it. I'm going to try it. Looks like it's going to work. So then you can download those when you want. Don't get distracted and try to download them now and listen to me. But I would recommend downloading them before you hang up on this call, because they probably won't be there for you. And then you'll have to email me, and that'll be okay. I'll actually answer you. So I put that in the chat for everybody. It looks like it totally uploaded and worked. That was lovely. It's lovely when technology works, isn't it? Not a rhetorical question. Okay, so here we go. Here we go. So this sounds familiar. I'm going to do my best to talk about this. This is what we typically see. So this week's problem is it's like a little fire. You know, it's just a little tiny, little one there. And then with a little bit of time, people start to thinking this way. And a little bit of more time goes on. And a new fire comes. And that's what we're living. That's actually our reality. And I'm right there with you all. So I'm going to be sharing some new concepts that are new to a lot of you. Some of you, these concepts aren't that new, but as you're thinking about this and what you're going to be experiencing and what you're going to be learning, keep in mind that the people around you aren't here. The people around you are just the people on this call. So when you go back out into your projects or to your sites or talk to your teams or your departments, they're living this reality. And you're going to start to recognize these fires for what they are. And sometimes it's okay to just let them burn. So we'll see what's going to happen here when you take that learning. So my takeaway on this slide is just be patient with your partners when you go back and you've got some knowledge. Be kind, because we're all doing very good work in our industry, and make sure you're turning people on to the work and keeping them engaged, right? You see a firefighter, you'd say, thank you. We'll help you have no fires eventually. So one of the things here, a lot of stuff on this slide, and this is from a Lean Construction report that was McGraw-Hill published some while ago. I think this was 2005. And one of the things that jumped out in the different pieces of information there, and I find this to be exactly true in every company that I work with and talk to, every project team, most people in the industry, including academics, like the people coming to join our companies now, coming out of school, they don't get told in school that we have an inefficient industry. There's just an assumption that everything is efficient and working well. So they did a survey, very large survey, McGraw-Hill did back, and they found that about a little more than half of all the people they surveyed, people just like all of us on the phone and on this call today, we're in that slice of the type of people that they interviewed, they thought the industry was actually efficient. Actually efficient. Now, you look at that, there are some responses where people were like kind of neutral. There's a small percentage that thought it was like, that had implemented lean practices. Later in the survey, the researchers asked questions later to validate, of the people that thought it was efficient, what types of practices are they using on their teams? What kind of results are they getting? And they found that overwhelmingly, if you had any exposure to lean, any kind of lean tool, any kind of lean method, any principle, you knew the industry is not efficient. And I'll share some data with you to drive that home. So just think about that. When I first saw this, like a decade ago, I was in the same boat. I thought, no way. No way. Like, I go to work every day, we build stuff. There's just no way. Like, it's efficient. It's efficient. And I started thinking and more, and you'll see some of the examples. I'm going to bring it to life so you can recognize it's not efficient. It's absolutely not efficient. And sometimes it's downright frustrating. So, yes. There you go. Let's see. So let's start with like, what is lean? Let's do what my friends in Texas say. Let's level set. So we're going to level set. When I say lean, I'm really talking about two very powerful principles that make it work. A lot of people say a lot of things, but when I say it and my friends at the Lean Construction Institute say it, this is what we're talking about. We're talking about genuine respect for people, and we're talking about continuous improvement. We're seeking perfection every day. Just like you heard JD say, like, I am obsessed with making things better and having an absolutely great time. I don't want to have a bad day ever. Now, bad days will occasionally come my way, but I'm going to use continuous improvement and turn those bad days around to my benefit. We want to eliminate anything that's not valuable. That's what we're talking about by waste. And we'll define value as that which is the customer's definition of value, or even better, because all of us are in a supply chain, whoever's receiving our work next. That person or people or team are our next in line customers in the supply chain. So let's be valuable and give them more of what they want. And Lean Project Delivery System, which I'll talk about a little bit, is just the way we organize. What principles are we going to use? What tools are we going to use so that we can deliver things in a unified way to create the lovely flow? We'll talk about flow in just a second. So here we have this gorgeous graphic of these 6 principles or tenets of lean construction. I like to call them principles. You can use your thesaurus. Let me take another hit of that coffee, JD. There we go. Maybe I should dial it down with decaf. Yeah, he knows what I'm talking about. Steve's getting that coffee too. But there's actually an order to this. And if we put these in order, the very first thing you want to do is have respect for people. And that's got to start with yourself. If you don't respect yourself enough, because I'll argue if you're on this call, you respect yourself a little bit, but if you don't respect yourself enough, you will not be able to extend it to other people that you work with. Then you want to work on generating value, like we talked about. Value for your customer, the person next in line receiving your work. And we all are in the supply chain, all of us. And then from there, the next thing you want to do is you want to focus on flow. Flow is that state where you just lose track of time. When you're working, you get in the zone. That's what we talk about is flow. When you're in that flow zone, you don't even need a schedule. You don't even need an Outlook calendar reminder. You're just in the pocket delivering value and you lose yourself in it. That's what we're trying to get to. That's the type of flow we're talking about. And we see this happen on project teams. And when it happens, it's like magic. And we can create the environment to allow that to happen. And one of the ways to let that happen is we want to eliminate waste. We want to recognize the things that are not valuable and then let those things go. Get rid of those things, minimize them. And then because we're doing that and we're having so much fun making flow, we want to improve all the time. Like, hey, yesterday we had a great day. Let's have a great day today. And then you take that forward and forward and forward, and it becomes infectious and it's like amazing. And the next thing you know, you're optimized the entire project delivery system. And then because your project is getting so over the top with this great time, people start coming to your site and they start asking like, I want some of that. How can I get that too? And then you optimize the entire system and it goes into your organization and it spreads into your family. And the next thing you know, everybody wakes up and they're like excited when it's Monday. You're like, it's Monday. It's the start of the week. When's the last time you got excited for a Monday? Well, you haven't used these 6 principles yet. So if you woke up this Monday and you weren't super excited, like, oh yeah, it's Monday, then that's okay. You're here today. So today we're going to just take you from here to here. We're just going to go one little step better. Let's go. So what do we want? So, I mean, we have people resisting lean all the time. I always laugh every time people says they're resisting. This is what people are resisting. And some of you are on the call. I know who you are. I'm not going to call you out, but I can feel you. I feel some of you resisting me already. Go ahead and try to resist. Resistance is futile. We want to achieve reliable workflow. Everybody I've ever met in construction, since the time I was a little intern, snot-nosed punk kid, to just today, this morning, wants to get reliable workflow. Everybody wants that. Everybody wants to maximize value for the customer. Nobody wants to deliver to the customer stuff they have to touch again and rework. Nobody wants that. And nobody wants to intentionally create waste, at least not the people that I meet in the design and construction industry around the world. And then optimizing the whole, not the parts, that's a great thing to have because it just makes it all a better, more cohesive thing. And then you get into this like natural human state of learning with a disciplined focus on continuous improvement. This is what people are resisting when you say lean. Now, lean is like one of those supercharged words that sometimes when you say it, people think, is lean an acronym? Felipe, does lean stand for something? Does it stand for less employees are needed? Absolutely not. That is just some marketing piffery, if I might. Thank you, Steve, for laughing. Steve gets my humor, JD. I'm going to virtually high five Steve right now. Bam, that's for you, buddy. Yeah. So that's what people are resisting. This is what we know in traditional delivery outcomes. We know that risk is high and risk is just unknown. We know that if I round, I'm going to take a liberty here and I'm going to hit this statistic on you multiple times. If I take that second bullet, that's about 3 out of 4. And if I take the third bullet, that's about 3 out of 4. So there's a lot of owners in this group. So owners, think of your portfolio of projects, all the jobs you have. 3 out of 4 of your jobs are probably late and probably over budget. And it's probably not because your general contractor is just super creative. That was another funny joke for you, Steve. Steve's like, that's not funny, Felipe. That's all right, Steve. I'll come back to you. We know that rework and waste are high, and I'll show you some stats on that so you can understand what that is. Teamwork is unreliable. If you've been in this business, you know that when people are available, owners are not accepted of this rule, and neither are trade partners, and definitely not general contractors. When people are available, they get put together on projects, whether they've worked together or not. They're available, right? They've got the skills, they've got the title, they just put them together. Everyone does that. So teamwork can sometimes be unreliable if it's not intentional. And customers are definitely not satisfied. I'm going to show you some stats and some customer surveys. We'll let the customers speak for themselves. And profit margins are absolutely shrinking, and many parts of our supply chain have become commodities. Okay, here's the bad news on the traditional outcome. So this is some research from 1999, and I've seen research done by the Construction Industry Institute again in the early 2000s, and we found the same exact numbers. And I was part of a research team 2 years ago. It was a two-year research stint, and we saw the same numbers just in 2019 and 2018. So here's the 3 out of 4 delivered late and over budget. That's typical. And I've talked to people overseas in Europe, and they're seeing the exact same percentage. It's systemic. That's traditional outcomes. And if I've asked people like, when you look back at your portfolio and they're like, we have a portfolio. I'm like, yeah, that's just all the projects you did last year. How many were on budget or on time? They don't know. And I was like, there's a reason why you don't know, because it's bad news. And we tend to de-emphasize bad news and we emphasize good news. But as a lean practitioner, problems are great to have. Those are opportunities to improve. Why not flip that around and only let sometimes projects go over budget and be late versus be the norm? Owners are so used to being late with jobs that I can make all kinds of jokes about that, but I won't, because I can see that little red button that's recording me, JD. So I'm gonna be a good boy. I'm gonna move on. Okay, so we want to enable risk to be managed, and we're going to allow for projects to be delivered on time. Absolutely, ladies and gentlemen, it is possible. I'm going to show you how today. You're not going to be in any want of not knowing what's possible. You're going to get that. We're going to minimize that rework. We're going to allow for team-wide reliability. I'm going to show you some tips for how to make that just your everyday reality. And we want to only satisfy the customer. I don't want to wow the customer. Remember, they're used to everything being late and over budget. So if I just finish on time and on budget, they're going to just be jumping up and down and high-fiving me like Steve was just 3 minutes ago. And then we want to have some fair profit for everybody. All the customers that we build for in the supply chain and all the people in that chain have to keep the lights on. This microphone doesn't buy itself. Someone had to pay for it. In this case, it was my wife. She did a great job. She picked out exactly what I wanted. And that came from having some excess profit in our personal household so that could happen. So you're welcome. All of you are welcome for having this amazing audio experience, thanks to people understanding that profit's okay. And all of the owners that we build for the industry, the last time I checked, most of the stuff that you build is for revenue and profit too, so that you can keep delivering those services and products that help your customers. It's a vicious cycle of everybody getting what they want. So it's perfect. Let's do that. Let's satisfy everybody. All right, so in every single project, regardless of contract type, you've got 3 main things happening. I put lean right in the center of that triangle because you can do lean on any contract. You do not need to put it in your front ends. You do not need to have it in your RFP, though I'll give you some tips for ways to get in there, no matter what your lawyers tell you. I'll show you some workarounds for that. But you're going to have an organization of how the team comes together. You'll have your commercial terms, which are your contract. And then the operating system is just how the team operates, right? The team together comes together, all these different entities come together. Some projects very complex. It could be more than 100 different companies coming together for one single project. That's not uncommon anymore. When I was just a wee little yipper snapper, I was on my first job out of school. We only had 19 subcontracts, and I thought that was too many at the time. And that was the good old days. So teams will organize into a structure, right? And we people that are here today, all of you have the ability to influence how teams organize now because you know something already that they don't know. You already know today that lean is not an acronym. So you know at least that. And then we can implement it any time too. No matter what the contract says, no one's going to fight you on delivering higher quality. And no one's going to fight you on finishing faster with less effort. No one. So get after it. Go do it. That operating system is how we're going to organize. And we're going to demystify a couple of things. So the first thing is let's get some satisfaction, right? I can't think of any better song. And no, Jose, I'm not going to play the song. I know you're already disappointed. I see your eye rolling, even with your camera off. So you just calm down. All right, but we want to fulfill the customer's wishes, expectations, needs, their pleasure derived. We want people satisfied. That's what satisfaction means, right? We want to have owners, architects, engineers, trade contractors, even subcontractors. And those are synonyms.
Call Tim real quick and say, just, do you guys have this in place?
What's up, Robert? You can go ahead and go on mute.
Felipe, you're muted right now. You have to unmute yourself, buddy.
Oh dear, I got muted with Robert. That's okay, Robert. We know you're a busy person making deals, making stuff happen. We appreciate you. Make it happen, buddy. Just do it on mute. Thank you for letting me come back, JD. I appreciate that. I was worried for a second. I was like, oh, JD can't hear me. Okay, so yeah, we want everyone, project managers, trade partners, subcontractors. We want everyone in the supply chain to be satisfied. And of course, the end users, of course. Come on, of course. So here's that data I promised you. 2014. There's a lot of stuff on there. I'm going to just break it down here just for a second. We had owners answer the question of what level of satisfaction were they feeling on their projects and their portfolios. And these are owners across the United States, focused on schedule, budget, and quality. And you can see from the results where frequently is purple. That's the how the owners just stay on the top 3 circles there. The owners are like, I'm not that satisfied. Schedule, half the time. Cost, half the time. And then on the quality, yeah, quality's good. Quality's good. This is what propagates that hackneyed statement that you can only have quality, schedule, or cost, but not all 3. That's just a straight lie. That's a lie. You can have all 3. But at the time, on typical, they're not getting it, right? Infrequently, some owners are just always unsatisfied, like never satisfied. And then look at the contractors and architects on the same projects. So they surveyed people in the same groups, and they found that architects and contractors are on some other planet because they're satisfied way more than the owners. So we're disconnected here. We have a false sense of security of what satisfied is. Like, we don't recognize that when the client frowns at us, that means a frown means not good. We're architects, contractors, we're seeing that frown and we're interpreting it as a smile. So we got to be mindful of that and just maybe indirectly find out. So there's that smart market report. I think it's available for free now because it's more than a few years old. And you can just find it by this name here. If you go to McGraw-Hill's site, Managing Uncertainty, Expectations in Building Design Construction, it's about, I think, 45-ish, 50 pages long. It's pretty cool. It's good stuff in there. Like it. Okay, so I want to just ask everybody using the Zoom chat, because we haven't used that yet. I just want you to tell me, like, how satisfied are you with the delivery of capital projects? Just put a letter A if you're satisfied like Mick Jagger, like a Rolling Stone. Put a B and hit enter if you're it's sometimes rocky. A C if you're crashing the guardrails, and a D if you're driving off a cliff. And just go ahead and hit enter. Robert, don't even worry for apologizing, buddy. It's Zoom. Stuff happens. I'll probably say the wrong thing at some point. So we got a couple of C's, we got a B, B's and C's, B's, and look at I anchored all of you. Now you're all just cheating. No A's, no super satisfied customers. Keep on. Come on, y'all, get in there. There's 55 of you, and I don't see 55 answers in the chat. You better get after it right now. I'm not clicking next slide till I see. Oh, we got some C's. Okay, it's getting dissatisfied. We're crashing the rails. All right, and we've got some more B's. There you go. You're starting to pick up that I'm serious when I say use that Zoom chat feature. Super serious. There you go. Looks like we got about the little popcorn is starting to slow down. Nobody was like very dissatisfied. So that's good. You got good friends. Got some good projects. I love it. And all people are kind. They tend to be a little overly optimistic. If I took you out for breakfast, you might be telling me D. All right. Awesome. It's good to see. It hasn't changed yet. So massive opportunity. So I got two more research studies. So we got Dodge Data Analytics on the left. And I've got this project that went North America. We got Canada, had a project Canada, and most of the projects in the US. And these are two different research objectives. Let's stay on the left for a second. So here on the left, we're looking again at owner satisfaction, project performance. So the researchers were like, man, they learned from that other McGraw-Hill report. They're like, we probably should talk to the owners because there's something interesting here happening. Let's not talk to the architects and contractors because they're just too happy. So they talked to the owners and they were liking to see, where's their satisfaction and project performance? What kind of operating methods do they have? Those are the two primary objectives. And look at that slice there. We've got institutions, industrial, government, developers, other types of building contracts, and commercial. So it's got a good mix. When the time the survey was done, they had just under 200 projects total. So this is about one of the earlier report outs. 81 different clients, capital construction builders. And on the right, they had some case studies about integrated project delivery because a lot of people think, oh, IPD is just the answer. Integrated project delivery is just the answer. So they're going to find out, is that true? So let's take a look. So on the owner satisfaction survey that Dodge did, they looked at owner's definition of value, super critical. So if you're sitting on this call right now and you're like, what does my owner value? And you think it's budget and schedule, you're wrong. You need to ask your owner. So there you go. That was just worth it for you to sign up just for that. If you want to know what your owner values, just ask them. You'd be surprised how many people you ask that on Teams and they can't answer it because they've never asked. I'll tell you what, it's not in the contract and it's definitely not in the RFP. So talk to your owner. They're human beings. They're okay. They'll tell you. Now, if they tell you with the frowny face, just ask a second time. All right. Then they did a comparison between typical jobs in their portfolio and their best performing projects. And they were looking at schedule, cost, budget, quality, and safety. And they thought some factors that might be influencing that based on things that they've researched in the literature, is what researchers always call in the literature. That's just basically what's published. They saw that team dynamics was coming up quite a bit. Project delivery and contracts, everyone always thinks contracts are the answer. They're not. Operating methods, a single factor, what's the most contributory thing to a high performing project? That's what they looked at. And then they looked at high intensity versus low intensity. And I'll show you what those are for lean. What's considered high intensity. So we asked the owner, and the owner said schedule was their top priority. Now, if you think about that, kind of makes sense. Like if I'm going to build a building to do something, I probably want to do that something sooner than later because it's going to generate revenue to satisfy my customers. So it kind of makes sense. But look, it's kind of tricky. Then they've got cost and budget control. Some capital construction builders have a very heavy-handed financing component. So for them, budget can tend to be more important than for others. And then safety, of course, we want to have a very safe project. We want everyone to go home safe every single day. And that was important to a lot of clients. I'm glad to see that that's the case. Super happy. And then quality came in. Quality is starting to show it's what they call table stakes. Like you have to just have it. You have to have it to compete. So these are builders and owners that build every year round. Okay. How often do your projects meet or exceed the owner's values? All right. So let's go back to that poll question because we've got to, because it's just fun. And just tell me A, B, C, or D. And we'll see that Laura was the last answer from before. So let's start and just where are you at with how often are your projects meeting or exceeding the key owner values that I just shared with you. All right, Steve's he's off to it. He's already got it. You like that? He's trying hard. We got some more try hards. Got some try hards. Let's see. We have anybody else? We got a lot of people trying hard. So far, nobody's good. Like, man, see, anchor. Oh, here we go. We got somebody saying good. I'm not going to call you out because I know I'm being recorded, but we have one person. Oh, and then now, okay, now we're starting to see like, it's good and we try hard. I like that, but it was only. I'm sorry, Laura. I can only accept one of those. So I'm going to assume it's B. Then we got some more try hards. Come on, people, break those fingers out. Get those juices flowing. Come on, tell me. I'm not going to call you out by first and last name and company. Come on, I knew better than that. Oh, I'm sorry, Nicole. B plus is not an acceptable answer. It's going to be B. All right, looks like we got a couple more people coming in. Excellent. I think that might be the last Zoom poll. So see, we had fun. We went out with fun right there. Now there's probably one more Zoom poll. All right, so now let's look at that comparison between typical and best. All right, so we got a lot of stuff here, but I just want to flag you to what I've flagged with the circles here. So typical jobs are shown in the light blue, and the high lean intensity projects are shown in the dark blue. And just looking at schedule from original project schedule or baseline schedule versus final, 61% of typical jobs take longer. Shocking. And then no variance to the final construction schedule, or it just perfectly matched, was 33%. Okay, it's not that good still. It's not that good. And then on the best performing projects, you can see the differences there. Even on the best performing, this is by the owner's definition of best performing, not anyone else. This is the client. And the client had a final schedule shorter than original, only 23%. You see why I say 3 out of 4? Man, when you take 100 minus 23, it's almost 75. That's what I'm going to go with 3 out of 4. You see that? And then scheduled on the right side, we got scheduled at the start of construction versus final. The typical jobs, 60%. Now, if I only can do math in quarter percentiles, 60% rounded up is 75. That's why I say 3 out of 4. So there you go. And you guys all have the slides, so you can like really get nerdy on the slides. And I highly recommend you get nerdy on these slides later. And here we have budget. And budget's the same story. It's about 50-50. Now, the best performing jobs, almost half met the owner's expectation for budget. And on the cost of the start of construction versus final cost, the 46%, they held. They held. That's amazing. So what they first started versus the final, they're holding with high lean intensity. So look at that. Final construction cost is likely to be lower, right? High lean intensity. It's worth it to do some of the stuff we're talking about on this slide. Might want to think about that. Okay. Don't think too hard. Just do it. Quality and safety performance. Let's look there too. That matters. So we had zero quality of final building compared to expectation. On the typical, nothing there. So we had quality versus expectation. In the higher performing project teams, it's higher. Of course, the team is super engaged. They're hitting on cost and schedule. You expect quality to be there. And we expect safety to be there too. Safety is about the same. So even when teams run late or go over, safety is kind of table stakes. At least we have that respect for people and for the people that build the building. So I was happy to see that come out in the data. Okay, so factors that influence performance. You're like, what can I do, Felipe? This is what you could do. Here you go. Team chemistry. Now they found in the owner's portfolio of projects, team chemistry was a massive indicator of something to work on to get into that best performing project zone. And it was good even for the typical majority of jobs at, 10%. So we got best performing, 68% had paid attention to team dynamics and had good team chemistry, as reported by the owner. Owner's opinion, key stakeholders often acted or worked cohesively to optimize even the best teams. So even the teams that were already good, they're like, can we get better? Yes, you can. You can get better. Absolutely. And then people were completing commitments on project goals, and nearly all the best performing project teams, as reported by the owner, were meeting their commitments on versus typical projects at the minimum. So just look at that chemistry. On the typical jobs, you got some factors down there. Integration of the team members, is that second column. Commitment to those goals is the third column. And that final one is just timeliness of decisions. If you're on a job right now and you're like, if only so and so would make a decision, you need to look at team chemistry. Something could be amiss right there. All right, so I'm not going to ask this one because we just had too much fun in the last one. I'm just going to say what's chemistry for everybody. Everybody said what's chemistry. Thank you so much, everybody. All right, so timing of key stakeholder engagement. We hear this all the time. Like, the sooner we could get people involved, the better. This is where it comes from. Anyone that's ever said, the sooner we could get feedback from people later in the supply chain, the better. This is why. We learned with this research that the best projects engage their stakeholders. Look at that. It's like 75% again. It just keeps coming up. That's just a coincidence. It's not the same thing. But best projects, 76% of those key stakeholders were involved during the conceptualization process. Incredible. Getting feedback from the people that are going to design and build your building, make your building and business case better. Who would have guessed? Almost didn't need research to do that, but we did, because we don't know that. We don't know that. That's something we learned from studying companies like Toyota, who have a product development system that runs contrary to what we see in the industry on average. And on the typical jobs, we don't see stakeholder engagement until DD, design development, or later, CD, or sometimes when the building's built. The worst time to bring a key stakeholder to your project is when it's done, because you're just rolling the dice on whether they're going to like it or not. The sooner you can expose people to what you're thinking, what your design is, what your intentions are, the better. Get that feedback and change. There you go. So they looked at a couple of different factors on picking key stakeholder selection process, and they found that best value, this is some contract for y'all. When it comes to how those stakeholders are selected, people are going to build your job. Best value, price, and proposal is used more often than most on best projects. And then on typical jobs, best value is relatively common still, and a little bit of pre-qualification is good. Open bid is slightly more common. Open bids are more frequently used when they're on best performing projects. So you get a little more higher transparency. And remember, I told you I was going to give you a little nugget. Here's my nugget on the RFP process. So owners, talking just to the owners out there, no matter where you are, no matter how many lawyers your organization has, if you talk to your lawyers, they'll probably allow you to ask a couple open-ended questions in your RFP process without having to, get an act of Congress to allow it to happen. So you're thinking about, I just learned about team chemistry. What if you asked your partners, what's their approach to team chemistry as an open-ended question? And then you can use that to judge if everyone's table stakes on safety, table stakes on quality, how can you differentiate this team that they're going to propose? What's their approach to team chemistry as an example, or teaming, or collaboration, or anything that's important to you, right? That's a good little easy thing you can do. Thank you, Steve, for the clapping. Oh, yeah. See, that was free. You can do that for free. Absolutely. Steve, I love you. Thank you. All right, project delivery methods and contracts. So the researchers are looking at this because people always think that it's the contract. Yeah, the contract can definitely put you into a certain state of mind, but the participants reported that until construction management risk was used, integrated project delivery on their best jobs, and that's not for everybody. It takes a lot of work on the client side to do IPD, integrated project delivery. It's not like you can just do the same thing that you did in the last hard bid. You can't, and I've not yet seen a company go from hard bid to integrated project delivery. Like, no one's made that jump. That's like jumping over the Grand Canyon. You probably want to take a path, walk down the path, and then, cross the river where the water's low, and then come back up to IPD on the other side. Nice and gentle, like, don't get hurt. It's hard. It's more work for the client to do IPD, but you get exponentially more value. But I'll come to IPD in a second. Anyway, so here's this typical versus best. So we got design, bid, build, leader of the pack, and we're seeing more design, bid, build across the whole United States. I went to the Design Build Institute conference in Napa, and way back in 2019. It feels like it was 10 years ago. And yes, I had too much wine, confirmed, but it's okay. I wasn't driving. And they said that after my third glass of wine, that in the western states, so west of the Rocky Mountains is their geographic area, to the Pacific Ocean, progressive design build was becoming half of all the design build projects they were seeing, which is close to IPD. It's very close to integrated project delivery. It's not exactly the same. Don't believe the marketing. It's close, but not exactly the same. And then Design Build said that those the Design Build Institute of America said those contract types for design build were increasing across the entire United States. So the days of the others they're just falling out of favor. It's okay. You could do lean on all. I'm just showing you this just to show you a little trend that's happening right now. And then we saw from the owners surveyed, the best contracts were the teams where they saw it were the best, cost reimbursable, target, and shared risk and reward. They just had a 19% better, more, or 19% of those best jobs were on those types of contracts versus others. So there it is. The biggest gap is between cost reimbursable and target with shared risk and reward. And that's tough. That's tough. If you've been hard in a hard bid environment or a construction at risk environment for your entire life, and all of a sudden you got to share profit with, your partners across the table, architects, designers, and you don't understand their business, that's hard for a lot of people. So be patient, tap someone who's got some experience, a facilitator. You might even want to get some guidance from legal professionals to help you navigate that. And some of you on the call here, I know, are doing those types of contracts. So phone a friend. You got friends in this organization right now that can help you and give you some guidance on that. So just remember, whatever you set up, onboard your team as well. Okay, now finally, high lean intensity. So I got 8 giant methods for high lean intensity here with different degrees of usage. The blue lines represent the percentage that were used during the best projects. And then we've got that's the dark blue, the best projects. And then the light blue is the typical. So, I mean, right off the page, last planner system of production controls, or more commonly known on the street as pull planning, was the most common, more commonly used in construction than design. This was before COVID. During COVID, I saw design teams pulling for last planner system in mass across the entire United States. So we're seeing a big jump with design firms, and there's some design partners on this call right now that I know for a fact are using last planner system. So I'm happy to see you here. Welcome to the high lean intensity party. So we're seeing a higher jump in that more recently. And then part-time co-location is becoming more common than full-time. And then we now have so much virtual due to the pandemic for co-locations happening virtually now, or hybrid. So it's happening. There you got A3 thinking or problem solving, BIM design authoring, for coordination, clash detection. Full team onboarding is really just bringing people up to speed with what is the project, what's the purpose, and having people buy into what they're getting on board with. Then we've got conceptual estimating and continuous estimating. And we see those as table stakes for anyone doing target value delivery. And I'll talk about what that is in a second. Prefab, modularization on the best performing teams. We're seeing that about half the time. So it's just becoming more and more prevalent and normal. And then there's target value design at the bottom. 40% of the best performing teams, this is, remember, based on the client's opinion, are doing target value design. And then we had co-location big room, 44%. Just imagine, you're spending time all together, working together across your silos, and you're outperforming people that stay separate. Wow, seems like a no-brainer. Seems so obvious now, right? Seems so obvious. And the co-location for most clients is a little bit of an investment. I've even seen clients in Arizona invest in a co-location at their expense. They spent nearly $75,000. This is about $62,000, but I just want to say 75 again, JD. That's just the only reason why. They spent about $62,000 to create a co-location on a CM at risk project. And what they found is at the end of the job, they finished ahead of schedule, and they had an extra $600,000 of owner contingency to spend on upgrading the hospital facilities. The stakeholders just loved it. Everybody got like the really nice nitrile gloves and the really cool PPE masks and the nicer nurse call station. I mean, it was just a win-win for everybody. So highly recommend the co-location investment. Okay, single factor. This is based on the researchers. They found that half the respondents consider teamwork, project team, the most important factor. That's it. I mean, we don't even need to talk about the rest of the stuff. The people that you hire are the most important. Almost seems obvious, doesn't it? Yeah, couple head shaking, and I'm getting some vibes that Rebecca totally agrees with that as well. Even though I can't see your face, Rebecca, I can feel it. She's like, yeah, that makes sense. I know it does. So look at that. IFOA contract, integrated form of agreement, only had like a 6% factor here. And what was the single factor contributing to the best team? Some of the clients were saying there's something else like trust. Trust is part of the team. Come on. Come on, researchers. That's still the team. Skill set. Oh, who do those skills belong to? The team. Buy-in. Who does the buy-in? The team. BIM efforts, I'll cross that off. That's not the team. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I love virtual design construction people. Well-defined scope. Yeah, that's the thing. That's an idea. So for the most part, it's overwhelmingly the team. The team. The team. The team. Okay, high intensity versus low intensity. Now, you saw all the data. Researchers looked at the performance on schedule and budget. Among the respondents who were high intensity and these other practices, especially those that were flagged as very influential, like last planner system, which enables teams to work better together. And they found that they were 3 times more likely to complete their projects ahead of schedule and 2 times more likely to complete them under budget. There you go. So should you do lean? No. If you want to finish late and waste your time, don't do it. But for the rest of you, let's do it. Okay. Correlation in design. I want to leave out my design partners. I see you, Paul. I know you're there listening. Probably trying to send an email at the same time. Put that email down, Paul. But check it out. And there's a couple Pauls on the call, so you don't know which Paul I'm talking about. I'm talking about both Pauls. Okay, I'm just kidding. I don't know that they do that. I don't know. I'm just guessing. All right, so you got your clients on design, high lean intensity, the best projects. The clients said that the designers were a strategic partner during the construction process, 78%. So there you go. It matters. And then on schedule, the final schedule was shorter and high intensity lean projects. So architects and engineers, this is for you too. And then on budget, 53%, which all of us who got further down the supply chain, we love that. We don't want you to be in a bad situation by the time we come online. So we want more high lean intensity up in the supply chain as well. And then look at that design excellence. That's for y'all. That's for you. Look at that. 36% high lean intensity achieved design excellence and opportunities for true innovation. Nice. Love it. Okay. We're going to get to a video right now because you've heard me talk for just way too long. So we're going to talk about IPD and lean, motivation myths. I asked you in the beginning, it was like slide number 2, or it was probably slide 3. We're going to talk about some myths and demystify. And I said, I brought a friend. I have a friend that's going to join me via technology. I'm going to have Renee Chang talk about IPD and some of the research she did. She's a researcher, professor at the University of Minnesota, and she partnered up with Integrated Project Delivery Alliance. That's the big Canadian group that focuses on IPD in Canada. Canada does quite a bit of IPD. I think they've become the world leader in IPD contracts. And then the Lean Construction Institute, who's put all this together and partnered with them as well, they're providing the means so you can get that high lean intensity. Let's see what Renee has to say about that. Here we go. Let me check for beautiful sound. Let me do a sound check here. We got share sound is turned on. Stand by, ladies and gentlemen. 3, 2, 1.
There's a lot of misperceptions right now about IPD and lean, partly because we're just a little further in the adoption curve, and so in both cases the earlier projects are not exactly the archetypical projects, but those tend to be the ones that people remember. So when we think about the myths associated with both IPD and lean, and for this presentation I've highlighted 5 myths that we think really need a closer look now that we've seen more projects. So the first one that I'll talk about is the idea that you have to have an A team, and if you have an A team of players, then the delivery method doesn't really matter and the contract method doesn't really matter. When in fact what we're finding through these studies is that you can actually foster positive behavior and build the team. And I think this is really encouraging because it's hard to say that you're going to have the very top quality people on every project, on every case, but you can actually build this behavior by attention to how many people are going to be in that risk-reward pool, how you're mentoring those people, how you're bringing them on, and then also the clarity around who's not performing to the culture of accountability that you're setting up, how do you get them off? We also have a myth about IPD contracts being too complicated, that they're not worth it for the amount of effort that you spend developing them, and that lean tools are very rigid and that you have to do all this training to follow them in exactly the right way. And we're finding it's a lot more flexible than people think. First of all, the investment of time to develop an IPD contract or to work through lean and decide which tools are going to be the most effective for your team is really valuable time. And that is actually team building time. And so to think that it's just too much time and it's not worth it, there's a huge return on that investment. What we're also finding is that the teams are quite varied in how they're actually applying the lean tools and processes, and how they're using particular terms of the IPD, as well as in how they use their co-location, how they use validation. So there is variety, there's no rigidity about this. The next myth that we talked about is about IPD really being large, complex healthcare, and there's no evidence that small projects can't equally benefit. They do have to be scaled, and so we need to know more about that, but it's pretty much clear that you can have a team that's brand new to IPD that can be equally successful as to one that is 50% or more experienced. So the idea that it's only really good for IPD and lean if you have large, complex projects is really not true. The other thing we see a lot of confusion around is the value to the owners, because they're not seeking bids and they're not going out to the market. Are they really getting the best value? The other thing we see confusion around is the team making a profit, because the way the IPD contract puts their profit at risk, are they actually getting paid back? And it's a little bit hard to say the pure results from this, because what we actually are finding is things about the value for the owner when you think about cost and schedule. Some of that depends on how well they set those cost and schedule targets. In these projects, we did find 100% of the owners were met or exceeded their expectations. But in actuality, if you look, not all the project teams were under the target. Some of them were just a bit over, and a number of them were under. Same with budget, that one was over and others were at, and then some were under. When you look at the teams, again, the picture around money is a little bit hard to say. We are seeing some reports where people are saying they're making 20 to 30% more than what they would make under non-IPD projects. But I do think that you're generally seeing the team collectively with the owner determine a target cost, and then in the end they did drive the original allowable cost way below market, and then their profit was distributed. The last myth is really one that personally for me, I really was in the camp of saying that IPD and IPD Light are essentially the same, when in fact now we're really finding that there is a difference, that the behaviors are pretty strikingly different with those that don't have skin in the game. When they're not part of the signatory pool, or they're outside the bubble as we might call it, they do behave differently. And then those that are within the signatory pool also behave much more collaboratively. There's a lot more fluidity in how they're willing to trade scope, and they're much more willing to call out behavior that's not productive. And they are also reporting a lot more fun and enjoyment, a lot more time being spent on positive things as opposed to negative things or conflict. And just how they're distributing their responsibilities is very positive and collaborative. So I do think that it's more than just signing charters, but actually having the skin in the game is important.
This research makes it clear that a lean culture, along with strategies and tools, can significantly impact project outcomes. A purposeful investment to engage and train a team in some or many of these practices will improve the business outcomes for all stakeholders. Don't let a specific contract or practice stand in your way. There's a lot to learn. Why not get started today? For more on LCI research and
Thank you for Renee for coming to my pate. Renee Chang is awesome. She's on the Lean Construction Institute's research committee, heads that board up. Okay, so I've got the common myths on the screen, and I just want a little bit of commentary, and then we're going to quickly open it up for Q&A in a second here. Delivery matters less than choosing the right people. So the people that come together, like I said, Felipe, has never met somebody coming to a project team trying to ruin it for people. I've never met that, but I've gone to teams and been involved with teams where things were hard and they were in a bad spot. So you got to use that, use what you know about lean and having fun, and helping people out. You can help change the behaviors regardless of what the contract says. And owners, I'm looking at you owners out there, owners set the tone for how the team's going to behave. So if you got a grumpy team, maybe you should drink that cup of coffee before that first call in the morning. Just saying. Don't be grumpy coming to the team. All right. Okay. I love you, owners. We can't do it without you. There'd be nothing to do if you weren't there and needed us. All right. So I love y'all. And then IPD contracts too complicated. They're actually less complicated. I remember the first IPD contract I read through. it was all of like 53 pages. And I was like, is that it? And it was like, it had like, I want to say it was like 12 pages dedicated to how we're going to talk and collaborate. And I thought, wow, this contract just feels so different. I was like, sign me up. I think I might have signed myself up to that contract even without a job. It was just cool. And then we know that IPD is used outside of large, complex healthcare jobs. So some of you sitting back thinking, we're not using it in my portfolio. Yeah, you're right. But you're here. So now you can make that change. I've seen it used successfully on projects as small as $2 million. $2 million. And the team that was there, they said, we're never going back to the old way. So just imagine we had, people that have this experience on integrated project delivery, and they start having fun every day. Hello. They don't want to go back to the old way. And we often see those people bring those behaviors to the next project, regardless of the contract type. You can get that benefit. And then owners not getting the value, or the team is not making a profit. So that got busted. We see that they are getting the best value. And Renee said it better than I can. IPD and IPD Light, not the same. So, if you think they're the same thing, and if you think progressive design build is equal to IPD, you are incorrect. It is not. It is not. So we busted all of those. And in the PDF slides, I'm pretty sure, I'm 99.9% sure that slide with Renee has the link to YouTube. So you can show that to your friends and be like, check this out. And the link to the buzzer is not in the slide deck. So message me on LinkedIn if you want some of that action. Okay. Tactical takeaways for y'all. Setting targets on target value delivery. I had a good talk about this with one of the clients that's been a part of some $1 billion jobs. And I said, do owners just go to school? Like they go to owner school and they just come back and tell the team that, this price is just, I don't have any more money and it's 20% less. And he's like, yes, that's day one, class one. He's like, right after you sign in for class, they tell you, when you go back to your team, just tell them to cut the number by 20%. Okay, no, little bit of laughter there. That's a true story. That's a true story. Like he did tell me that. I believe him. It's James Pease. I'm just calling him out. James Pease, who now works at, he's got a good sense of humor about it. He said it publicly, so I can say it out loud. He actually was presenting with Renee Chang on that presentation she was referring to was from a Lean Construction Institute Congress presentation back when it was held in Chicago in 2018, back in the day. Lovely. Oh, by the way, the Lean Construction Institute annual Congress is going to be in Phoenix, Arizona this year in person in October. Highly recommend you check out LCI's website and go to see cool presentations like this one that I'm giving you right now and others live in person, socially distant and safe. So set some targets, find out what the owner's business case are, and get those goals from the executive team. That's what C-suite stands for. Stands for corporate. In case you're wondering, what does the C stand for? Corporate. So I have to say it like that because I'm corporate. That joke's for you, Aaron. All right, then you want to build a team. Contracting using the best value we saw does have a little bit of a correlation, and there's different ways and opportunities for you to do that, regardless of how you're doing it now. I gave you some free advice that Steve high-fived me for, which is asking open-ended questions in your RFP process. There are things that you can do to get a little more context and flavor and help you compare. And that's also a signal to the teams that you want something different. Learn as a team. Learning is awesome. Every single day, I'm still learning. And it's about understanding where you are right now and then moving forward. And of course, I got a graphic for that. So I'll show a graphic in a slide or two on learning. And then you got to support the team, right? Because most contracts just put us at odds with each other. So let's be intentional. Let's have that project first thinking and get after it. Let's put lean right in the center, right in the heart. I got a PDF here I'm going to put in the chat. If and only if I get a question for it, I will share it. And this is kind of like a one-pager that you can use to remember some of the cool stuff that I shared with you today. And we're going to go to the chat. I'll drop it in the chat only if people ask for it. Here's that slide about learning. So we want to go from unaware. Hopefully you came in today unaware. I came in at about awareness. And now that I've presented this to you for about the 25th time, I've got some competency now. So I'm moving up the chain myself, heading towards mastery. I don't even want to get to mastery. I just want to get to understanding and competency and keep moving on towards perfection every single day because it's fun. So start where you are. There's some resources. Lean Construction Institute has some books that talk about some of the very same things, like how do I improve team dynamics? That's in this book here, Transforming Design Construction. How do I learn more about Last Planner System Production Controls? That's in this book here, Transforming Design and Construction. How do I learn about transforming my team? That's in this book here, Don't Conform, Transform. How do I start doing target value delivery in design? That's in this book right here, Target Value Delivery. Oh, wow, look at that. So go to the website, check it out. And if you like this course and you want to do learning at your own pace and go deeper, here are some of the courses that are available for e-learning from LCI. This is the time when I want you guys to take their chat and not yet, but get ready. It's coming, but not yet. I'm going to be asking for things that you liked in the pluses. And JD told you all that he loves your feedback. I need to know, like, did Felipe use his sound effect things too much? Yes, he almost crossed the line. No, he did not. He could have used it more. Yes, I could have. I could have used it much more, but I didn't. I held back a little bit. Just a little bit, but there, I'm getting it out of my system now, JD. Getting out of my system. Okay. So we'll do that in just a second. I'll give you some more directions on what that is. You have the slides with this email, and now you have my contact info. And I want to thank again the St. Louis Council of Construction Consumers and the St. Louis Community of Practice, where I serve as the vice chair with my friends, JD, and most of them are actually here today. So thank you, friends, for the core team coming from the St. Louis Community of Practice, and all of you that belong to both groups. Thank you for coming and learning what is Lean Project Delivery and the business case for Lean. Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to assume that you hit that QR code. My email address is there. Engineer is my last name, so I will not answer any questions about that other than to say that my dad had something to do with it. And I'm going to stop sharing so that I can put that beautiful PDF in the slide chat for all of you. And I will say that I super appreciate all of you being here. We've got some notes in the chat. I'm not even going to pay attention to the chat until I first put where to contact me here. So let's see, do I have, oh yeah, okay, I'm sharing. Let me center up so I look good. Do I look good, JD? JD
Yes,
says,
you do. As good as you're capable of looking. You're a better speaker than looker.
that's
in my
fact.
opinion.
That's a fact. That's a fact. My mom likes this face. That's true. I'm going to put in the chat for everybody that PDF as promised, because it looks like there's some noise about it that people maybe want that. Oh yeah. Okay. Kevin wants that. Okay. I'll take care of you, Kevin. I'm going to put it in there, and then I'm going to start answering some questions. So get your questions ready while I find where to put this in here. JD, you want to start massaging those questions with me. If there's anything that you can answer, JD, just take it while I drop this file in there, and then we're going to do the plus delta.
Yeah, glad to do that, Felipe. So team, please use the chat function and start posting questions, and we will answer those questions to the best of our ability.
And then anyone that joined late, I put in the PDF of the slide deck in again, because Zoom is like that. If you're not here at the beginning, you miss it. So now that the second thing I'm putting in is the PDF of that one pager. That's only all the 95 kilobytes. All right, now I'm going to pay attention to the chat here. So let's do we'll do Q&A for a little bit, and then I'm going to love some plus delta. Okay, I already got some people that couldn't even stop them. They couldn't even help themselves, and they just like it. So thank you for liking it. I had a great time too. Let's see, we need the sound effects. Yes, Katie, get those sound effects. Just go to your favorite phone provider and get after it. The time is nigh to get after some cool sound effects. So do we have any questions from anybody at all? Any questions? All right. So yeah, okay. If you don't have, like, how do I get to Felipe? Get to me right there. I'm going to change this view so that I get bigger. And then, yeah. So you want to get me there. Connect with me on LinkedIn. I will answer questions for anyone that came to this session. As long as this heart beats and there's blood in my veins, I'll answer questions about Lean and the business case for Lean. So you don't have to ask now. I know that big red recording button can sometimes intimidate a question. And I assure you, the only dumb questions are the questions I ask. All your questions will be awesome. So we'll give people a couple awkward moments of silence for questions, and then we're going to roll into the plus delta. Oh, here we go. One question from Laura. Thank you, Laura, for asking the question. Brave Laura. Laura's getting the bell. Laura, you're at the top of the class now. How does IPD affect sub-consultants lower on the chain? That's a great question, Laura. So what we found in teams that have mature integrated project delivery, not every single consultant, not every single trade partner, we don't leave them out either, subcontractor, become signatory members to the integrated project delivery. So depending on what type of consulting services you're bringing, if you're not going to have a big impact, and this is just subjective, it's not like there's no rule of thumb, but typically we see, there I go, just contradicting myself. Typically, rule of thumb, if your contract and your contribution to the project scope is not significant in size, not to say that your contribution is not significant. I'm just saying as compared to the overall total project volume, it might not make sense to put your profit at risk. So it might make more sense to have you just be below one of the signatory partners. For in design, typically we see the architect, signatory, shared risk and reward. We see the structural engineer, and then we see various mechanical disciplines, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, fire protection. Actually, because the way that they've been doing things for such a long time, we're seeing more and more fire protection design not be signatory because of just how their designs are done and what some of the things that they're held to. So it's a great question. So sometimes you won't see it, but you should, as a sub-consultant, ask your prime if they have it and what their deal is. Know their deal. They should happily share their deal with you so that you're in the team. Awesome. Great question. All right. Looks like we don't have any. Oh, we got business case was cool. Thank you, Nicole. What differences have I found implementing lean for engineers and architects versus general contractors? Oh my God. The differences. The differences are I don't curse as much when I'm with engineers and contract or with architects. So that's one thing. So JD's like, it's like he doesn't even know that that's true, but yeah, you didn't think that answer was coming out, did you? So when I'm with contractors, I tend to curse a little more, and I tell them, the architects and engineers, you can take the Felipe out of the trailer, but you can't take the trailer out of Felipe. So I'm an operations nut. That's where I came up. I'm an electrical engineer by training myself. That's what I got my undergrad in. So I think the approach is just differently. You still want to ask people, where they are, what part of lean do they want to implement. It kind of depends on the culture of their organization. And I do the same thing with all project teams. So from my perspective, having done this for a decade, I kind of approach them the same way as unique snowflakes. Now, if you know anything about ice science, Nicole, there are certain conditions that allow for snowflakes to form and be made, even though all snowflakes look differently. And the same is true with people in engineering, design, and subcontractors and general contractors. The conditions to allow these things to happen and enable are kind of similar because we're all people, regardless of whether we went to school or went to trade school or didn't go to school at all. So I find that you want to start understanding where they're at, what do they want to achieve, and then start from there. Start with something that they want to get after, and then get after it with them. So I hope to answer your question. Okay. All right, let's go plus delta. So if you like something, put a plus sign and then tell me what you liked in the chat. And if you didn't like something, like if you wished that I would have hit this money sound a couple more times, put a minus sign and then tell me that, and then we'll know. All right. Okay, here we go. We're getting some feedback, and then once you get that in there, just get it in there. Get it in there. That's all right, Kevin. Not following directions is how you learn. Kevin was eager so Kevin's plus is way up there in the chat. It's all good. So I love the feedback. Love the positive, negative feedback. I do have satin pillows, so when I cry myself to sleep at night with all the negative feedback, the tears just roll right off the pillowcase, and it doesn't stain the pillowcase at all. So you don't worry about making me cry tonight. I need to hear what you liked and what you didn't like. Plus for me out loud, I'm not even going to type it, JD, but a plus for me was your introduction. You took me through, just put me at ease. Just put me in the right mindset, JD. I just loved it. I was like in the zone by the time you're like, take over. I was like, there. Steve loved it. Cheers to you, partner. Loved having you here too, Steve. I want Steve in every one of my presentations from now on. He was boss. Kevin enjoyed the upbeat, positive nature. Speed of the presentation. Yeah, I'm one of those fast talking city slickers, right, JD? I grew up.
You're very sincere. You're a very sincere speaker and a very committed speaker to the to what you believe.
Right on. I grew up on the south side of Chicago, so that's why I talk as fast as I do. And this is like slow for me. But I spent all my summers in Texas, so I get y'all. So we had thank you, Kelly. You're welcome too. We hit the mark. Loved it. Nicole said, I would like to hear more about the mechanics of establishing a lean culture. All right, Nicole. We have planted the seed of curiosity. I love that feedback. That's good. Doing my job. Laura just gave me a double plus. Luke said, all the sounds. Yeah, Luke. Let's see, what sound did I not use? Oh, in case I was going to start to curse, JD, I was like, what the? So then that's already to clean me up so that I don't say any bad words in this presentation. Kelly's like, how does he do it? I just do it, Kelly.
You're fantastic. Thank you so much. It sounds like we don't have any other questions. We don't have any other questions, and I guess we can close this out. If you think of
Yes.
other questions, I know Felipe would be, we would enjoy answering those questions for you. So
Absolutely.
fantastic. You probably definitely are on the top of the list of the most entertaining speaker we've ever had. So thank you so much. I feel like I didn't even want to come after you after that. So
Good luck, Kelly. Good luck.
luckily, I only have a few things to say. But thank you everyone for joining us today. Obviously, this was a fantastic presentation. We've been really excited and been talking about this for, I guess, we started in last January discussing this topic and getting them on board to speak. And we appreciate Richard Vestal's initiative to make this happen and getting Felipe to speak and taking our time to do that. So appreciate that so much, and their entertainment as well. I just want to remind everyone, he's asking for evaluations, so are we. The evaluations that we send out are so critically important to the council. So please, please, please respond to that. It only takes a couple of minutes. And in all sincerity, we really do look at those. And then any other topics that you have in mind, everyone that comes to different programs has different ideas of what they'd like to see. That input is greatly appreciated. As a reminder, again, the calendar, please look at that. It's always on the website. So if you want to know what's coming up, and check your spam filters, because we're getting a lot of comments that our emails are going to spam. If you're not hearing from us, something's wrong. We are always sending something out. So make sure you follow up on that. And then I want to leave you with a quote because I changed my quote that I usually always prepare ahead of time. But based on your speech today, Felipe, I changed. If you always do what you always did, you'll always get what you always got. That's by Henry Ford. So I think that was appropriate for what you just did. So appreciate
Hey,
everyone's time.
this is for you,
today.
Kelly. Good job.
Well, I'm a philosophy minor, so I always have to leave these quotes. But the presentation, the video will all be available to all of you. So just give us at least a day to prepare all that and get it to you. But he did obviously put it in the chat, but the recording will be available. Just give us a moment and we'll get it out to you guys. Always look at our website after a program and we'll have that information for you. So thank you so much. Have a great dry day for those of us in St. Louis that are getting poured on. Take care, everyone.